of attaining self-consciousness and some measure of intellectual realization. If you could only put it all together, you might know exactly how to propitiate the gods and get the rain when you wanted it and get the animals to show up for hunting when you needed them and so on. And then people began putting together more complex houses, communal huts, where you could have the whole family in together to guard against other communal huts who might come and attack you. Society was beginning to evolve. It was the leading minds, the leading mentalities who actually had a Ruach awareness or who were really aiming to develop Ruach awareness. That was the condition of life in the Aeon of Isis. Exactly when it finished, I couldn't give you a date, but the German philosopher Karl Jaspers, about 80 years ago, came up with the term the axial age. From about 800 BC to about 200 BC, you see a certain set of ideas emerging, possibly from Persia, Iran, and spreading in both directions, maybe arising somewhere else. But the idea of a soul in a body, of individual purpose, an individual relationship to these gods and nature spirits, as opposed to you just being subservient to the local clan leader or king or high priest, whatever it was, began to emerge. There was this idea in certain Eastern countries that you could meditate, you could still your mind and focus on the essence of your own being, which was unique to your own life. This was people operating from the Ruach with an awareness of something further beyond that. Thus we got the great religions, Zoroastrianism, Hinduism, which evolved from a kind of shamanic real faith that was around. We don't know much about it, but it seems around that axial age, 800 to 200 BC, it begins to coalesce into these deeper philosophies. You've got Plato, you've got Pythagoras, you've got some of the speculations that were happening in Egypt, you've got the Hellenic world, you've got what's going on in and around the Euphrates Valley, and so on and so on. These systems are coming together with an awareness that there's something beyond the individual self-consciousness of this Ruach that is transcendent. It can guide the Ruach, it can develop the Ruach further. You can understand many more things, you can be open to all kinds of inspiration. And you see an acceleration in the development of societies with the technology of wheels and chariots, ships. Sometimes construction methods become more elaborate, the working of crafts. We've gone through the Bronze Age, but now we're actually able to smelt iron and other metals, and people are making really cool stuff so that one day there'll be something to stick in our museums. This higher consciousness, this inspirational, intuitive consciousness, we call the neshama, the higher soul. We've reached a point at this axial age where people have a sense that, okay, I exist, I am a distinct being, and the faiths that have developed work on that. Christianity is the one most of us here would know best. It places all of this stress on the fact that you as an individual have to become responsible for your own actions and your own orientation to the divine in order to attain salvation. You got to do this. It's the cool thing to do. This is state-of-the-art mind technology. You got to get saved. So get down there, grovel, repent for the fact you've got all these nefesh instincts that are telling you, I want sex, I want booze, I want more food, and actually start using some reasoning powers. But there's this thing further up ahead that a few leading minds are starting to hook into, this neshama. Neshama, it's the term for the higher soul, N-E-S-H, A-M-A-H in English. Nun, Shin, Mem, He, I think, in Hebrew. It is mentioned in the little black pamphlets we're giving out here. This now is what in our tradition we call the Aeon of Osiris. We've borrowed a model from ancient Egypt. It's not intended as a dogma, it's just a workable concept.
Oh,
We've been through the Isis stage where people had an active nefesh, animal soul, with an awareness that they could develop, a self-conscious awareness and an intellect with the Ruach. Now as we're coming into the Aeon of Osiris, after this axial age, we are starting to make that our baseline, this idea that we are all individuals. I hear the line from the Life of Brian, but basically people began to get this idea. We're all individual. Even that peasant over there in the field who's toiling for his lord in the castle knows that he might make it to heaven as well, where everything's going to be wonderful. Similarly, in the Eastern faith, you've got this idea that you can eventually reincarnate up the ladder, you too can make it up to moksha, liberation, and so on and so on. In each of the faiths has got a path for you. The baseline has become ruach, self-awareness, self-consciousness, understanding of a certain degree of, a certain proportion of the universe. Up ahead is this kind of unknown but deeply felt, intuitive, spiritual, super soul type reality, this neshama. Certain mystics have realized it. The bodhisattvas of Buddhism, the yogis of Hinduism, some of the contemplative saints of Christianity or Islam, some of the rabbis of Judaism, so on and so on. That's the Aeon of Osiris. We are self-conscious, we know we exist as distinct entities. That produces a certain anxiety, but we believe we can move on to salvation. Now what's happening here is that as each stage comes in, it still includes what's been before. In the Aeon of Osiris with this Ruach stuff, we are aware of the instinctual self. Unfortunately, it mostly turned out to be a battle. You've got to repress your sexuality. You've got to repress a whole load of the animal self. You've got to forget all that running around in the woods and going, woo, because that's bad. I don't know when the Aeon of the child, the Aeon of Horus, the son of Osiris, exactly began. According to our Thelemic mythos, Aleister Crowley was given this text, the Book of the Law, on April 8th, 9th, and 10th, 1904, and that's our start date. But I have the impression that things were beginning to coalesce rather before that, maybe late 1700s, with what we call the Enlightenment. People were beginning to develop a much broader concept of life. We were getting interaction between different cultures, different faiths. There was just the beginnings of an understanding there was something way bigger. And simultaneously, people were doing things like discovering other planets. Uranus came first in the 1780s, I think. Neptune was found in the 1830s, 1840s, later on Pluto and various other bits of rock flying around. So there was a cosmic perspective beginning to develop at this point. But formally speaking, we say we're in the Aeon of Horus as of 1904. That's the point where this strange text that Aleister Crowley received in that year existed. He didn't think it was going to be anything when he went into the bedroom to write down whatever happened, but he started hearing this voice dictating to him all of these odd words in a much more concise form than he was capable of writing on his own. Even his inspired poetry, and he was a poet, couldn't be as concentrated as what came into this strange text he got in those 3 days. He didn't like it, it scared him, it upset him, he couldn't understand it, he tried to get rid of it, he'd occasionally pull it out, look at it, figure out a bit of it, then put it away again because it was kind of disturbing. But over the course of years, in the first decade of the 20th century, he began to realize there was something rather more interesting there in terms of the self-realization and spiritual realization of a human being. It has this famous phrase, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Not meaning, go and do what the heck you want, but actually realizing the deeper essence of thou, the personal thou that's inside you, the individual truth, the individual dharma that you bring into the world and give to the world. It's your job to bring that through and live it to the hilt. And again, it includes everything that happened before. Don't lose your reasoning powers. Don't lose your awareness of who you are, even though the book disparages reason as an ultimate technique. And don't forget the instinctual self that came before. Embrace all things of sense and rapture, or enjoy all things of sense and rapture, says the book. Get the whole of yourself involved here. So we're moving into a third phase. I know this is technical and I keep reiterating, but it's crucial to where we're going. We started as instinctual beings with a kind of awareness that we could actually be reasoning beings. We come to the point where we are reasoning beings with a certain spiritual awareness and a kind of dark hunch that there's some really big thing up there. The book that we now have, which is very difficult to comprehend intellectually on the first few readings, is implying a perspective, an outlook on the world from the level of Neshama. This is where we're headed in this aeon. Now, just to keep everything completely complicated, we have two more concentric levels of Neshama. If Neshama is the higher soul, within that there's the Chia, C-H-I-A-H, the actual essential will. Not the mundane, I want because I'm thirsty, but actual desire to fulfill some creative, meaningful purpose that will color my entire life and make it a useful existence. That's the next thing. Here we are moving into this aeon with a much deeper psychological awareness than we used to have in past centuries. We've already absorbed the Ruach. We all know the arguments for and against religion. We all, if we're inquiring, intelligent people, we all have some idea of where we sit on the does God exist or not exist argument, what's the nature of reality. Everyone's got their own set of ideas on that. We may not be convinced by it, but we've got a set of ideas we're working from. Now we're moving into a spiritual consciousness that has been available to a few mystics and bodhisattvas, saints, illumined people in the past. But this is going to become the new baseline. This is going to become the new norm in the centuries to come. What we're looking to ahead of us is the realization of this vital will here. Hence, in our book, it says, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. We're stepping outside of the Ruach, which says, well, here's the rules. Let's set up some agreed-on rules, and you can do this, but that would be sinful and bad, and that's just plain wrong and dirty. We're now going past that and saying, realize your own essential truth, and nothing else. Do that, and no other shall say nay, as our book tells us. That's the step we're at. We haven't, however, got very far into this aeon. So a number of people working with magic and the various techniques that are employed in our Thelemic community have had some pretty deep realizations. Most of us are still struggling to get there, but it's assumed that as we continue with our work, with our different approaches to all of this, and there's no one system. You may be working more with Buddhism than anything to do with Western magic. You might be using Sufism as your primary technique. You might be using Zen.